What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to break down Mel Kiper's 2.0 NFL mock draft for the 2024 season. March 11th is when free agency opens up, so a lot is going to change after the first week of free agency because some of these teams, possibly New England, is going to go out and probably bring in a quarterback, I think. Or they could just draft one of the three top quarterbacks that are available. But one of these teams we're not thinking about is either going to move up in the draft via trade or they're going to grab one of these guys like Kirk Cousins. He will make any of these teams a lot better. I don't really see that happening for Washington or the Bears. But the Bears could really trade this pick again because unless they absolutely love Caleb Williams, man. It's just like if you really want to build a roster and you can get a ton of draft capital, woo, man, it's going to be enticing. Some of these teams might get desperate and might throw a lot at them because let's be serious. The Bears, even if they get Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or whatever, they're not going to be competitive next year. They're just not. That division they're in is too good. The Lions, the Packers, the Bears aren't competing next year. So let's see what happens. All right. The first pick, Caleb Williams. As we approach the one-year anniversary of the Bears trading for number one overall pick, I continue to believe they will keep this selection and move on from Justin Fields. I agree. It seems like everybody who's doing any mock drafts thinks Caleb Williams is the guy for the Bears. For me personally, I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in the draft. 5 years of experience, in and out of different coaches and offenses, and he continued to persevere and get better and better and better and turn to an elite passer of the football at LSU. And that's why Washington Commanders are picking Jaden Daniels with the number 2 pick. And I agree with everything Kiper's saying. With Cliff Kingsbury, he's going to spread open that offense, let Jaden Daniels run a very similar offense at LSU. The Commanders just got to hope the Bears don't do something crazy, trade the pick, and then who knows, maybe someone trades up for Drake May or Jaden Daniels. But I like Daniels at number 2 as well. As an Eagles fan, it breaks my heart because, man, Jaden Daniels' tape is so good. He's really, really, really talented. He's tall. He's got a decent arm. He doesn't have a great arm, but he's got a good arm. He's really good at throwing those back shoulder throws and intermediate comeback routes. And, he looks really, really good. I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. On my big board, he's the number 1 guy. Then, not much has changed. He goes with Drake May for the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots are probably going to pick a quarterback. I don't know if a new head coach, a new regime, Bill Belichick has moved on to not coaching anywhere. But I don't know if they want to bring in a recycled guy like Kirk Cousins. I think they're going to draft whoever's left, probably, I'm guessing. I think they would love if Jaden Daniels fell to them at 3. But I agree, Drake May, number 3. Not much has changed. Marvin Harrison, number 4 for the Cardinals. If the first 3 picks break this way, I suspect the Cardinals will rush to their selection to the podium and draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Could a team like the Patriots take Marvin Harrison Jr. and just be like, I think he's going to be a generational talent. I'm going to pick him. That's very possible. But I like Neighbors just as much as I like Harrison. So he's going with Harrison number 4. And then he changed his pick. Originally, he had Bowers going number 5 to the Chargers. But now, J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle of Alabama, here's a big literal deviation from his original mock draft when I projected Brock Bowers with Harbaugh. And we should know from Harbaugh's time with the Niners and at Michigan that he wants to build through the lines. I agree. I didn't think he was going to take Bowers. I think that was too early at number 5. I like this pick. You need to protect Justin Herbert. That's it. Pick an offensive lineman. J.C. Latham is the guy. Number 6, Rome Odunze. I could see the Giants going offensive line here too if one of the top guys like Joe Alt is still available. Because you got to protect Daniel Jones. They can't protect him. And they're going to draft another wide receiver, Rome Odunze. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about all that. I like Neighbors better than Odunze. Personally, Odunze is really long. He's got real long arms. But I was watching his tape. He doesn't create a ton of separation. I think he's going to struggle to get open in the NFL. I really, really do. He was struggling to get open in college, and the corners are way better in the NFL. So I like Neighbors better than Rome and Dunzier there if they're going to pick a wide receiver. The Titans picking Joe Alt. I like protecting Will Levis. We'll see what he's got. I could also see them taking a guy like Neighbors at number 7. I really could. But protecting Will Levis probably going to be the number one priority. I think that's where they go to. And then everybody is having Atlanta picking the first defensive player, whether it's a corner or an outside linebacker. But it seems that Dallas Turner is the best defensive player in this draft. That's pretty weak sauce on defense. So I don't know. Their quarterback situation is not so good there. I really think they could bring in a guy like Kirk Cousins to Atlanta. That would be really interesting. And then number 9, he's got Malik Neighbors. I mean, if the Bears, in some crazy world, have Neighbors available at number 9, that's unbelievable. And if he's not available, and if the board falls like this, Brock Bowers going to Chicago, Caleb Williams, he struggles with footwork. He struggles with throwing on time in the pocket. He struggles throwing that structure. So a guy like Brock Bowers could help him when he breaks structure to be open like Travis Kelce does with Mahomes. But Neighbors, if he's available, it's a no-brainer there. Number 10, Brock Bowers to the Jets. I don't see that happening at all whatsoever. I think they got to take an offensive lineman. Their defense is great, but I don't know. I mean, giving them another weapon for Aaron Rodgers to work with for the next couple years, I don't know if that makes the most sense because in 3 years, 2 years, depending on how long Aaron Rodgers plays, they're going to need the quarterback. And if they have a shitty quarterback, having a guy like Brock Bowers isn't going to matter. So I like offensive line here for sure. Probably a guy like, Fasanu. I like Fasanu from Penn State. If he's available, I can see them taking him. And if Brock Bowers continues to slide, Eagles, Howie Roseman, move up, bro. Take my man Brock Bowers. If you could, shop Dallas Goedert for some later round picks and bring in Brock Bowers or run them both until Goddard's contract's up, dude, all day. Brock Bowers, come to Philly, bro. That would be tight. But I don't think the Jets go. I don't care what Mel Kiper says. I don't think they'd go tight end. I don't know. And Brock Bowers isn't the biggest tight end in the world, so he's not going to help that offensive line at all whatsoever. He's a smaller tight end, 6'2", 240-ish. He's not a big, bulky, pass blocking, run blocking kind of tight end. All right, number 11, he goes Jarrett Verse from Florida State. I almost went corner here. Arnold from Alabama or Dijon from Iowa or Wiggins from Clemson. That's his top 3, but I wonder whether this instead could be a spot for an edge rusher. Minnesota Vikings definitely need a little help on the D-line. They could go, I think Vikings go defense for sure. Depending if they bring back Kirk Cousins, maybe they look at a guy like J.J. McCarthy. We'll see what happens. But number 12, the Broncos. I think the Broncos are a great team to potentially move up in the draft. Sell the farm a little bit down the road for a quarterback because we know Sean Payton needs his type of quarterback. For him to be successful, he needs a guy that he can trust, that can do what he asked him to do, right? So if the Broncos can move up to number 2, number 3, can you imagine Jaden Daniels and Sean Payton in Denver? Oh my God. That would be incredible. You're going to have to give up a couple first-round picks probably, or a 1 and a bunch of 2s and 3s. But the shot. I mean, the Broncos, I don't know if Sean Payton's going to like J.J. McCarthy. He doesn't have a ton of experience playing in college. I think he was only like a 2-year starter or whatever. So I don't like that pick either. All right, Vegas. Byron Murphy, D-tackle out of Texas. Like Denver, Vegas is likely moving on from its veteran quarterback as Jimmy Garoppolo was benched for Antonio Pierce. When Antonio Pierce took over, as the interim coach last year. So if you free up Max Crosby by bringing in a guy like Murphy, it bring so much potential to Max Crosby, even more than he already has. I like that spot here. Number 14, Fasanu from Penn State. That's a great pick. No matter who is the quarterback in New Orleans, they need help on the offensive line 100%. It says Trevor Penning, a first-round pick in 2022, has just started 6 games in 2 seasons and was once one of the league's worst pass-blocking left tackle. They need help at offensive line. I like that pick. And the Colts need help everywhere. Anthony Richardson hopefully will be back healthy on the offensive side of the ball. They don't typically franchise tag people, so Pittman's probably going to be gone. So if any of these big-time wide receivers are left, I could see the Colts picking them. Or if Brock Bowers is available, him and Anthony Richardson would work really well together. But they're going with one of the top corners. You can't go wrong there. And Terry and Arnold. I like Arnold. He's a good player. Okay, let's move on to number 16. The Seattle Seahawks take Troy Fontenot, the guard out of Washington. He goes on to say, Kiper saying that it's not a sexy pick with a guard. But the Seahawks like to run the football. Offensive line is always a need for them for sure. I like this pick. With Evan Brown, Damian Lewis, and Phil Hayes, all free agents, Seattle has a ton of holes to fill all over the interior offensive line. So it's a no-brainer. Pick the best guard in college football, and that's Troy Fontenot, the guard from Washington. Then we move on to the Jaguars, cornerback out of Toledo. Small school guy in Quinion Mitchell. Scary, but he was really, really good. He shut down a lot of people. He had a big... what was that, Big East game or whatever? Senior Bowl, sorry, not the Big East game. He had a big Senior Bowl. He looked really, really good. That he can compete with these, top-fledged prospects. So I like that. That's a risky pick for the Jaguars. Oh, man, I don't know. The Jaguars could go receiver, too, in an offensive heavy. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft. I don't really think he's picked the other guy from LSU yet. Man, he's not even on here at all, is he? Brian Thomas Jr. not until 28. I think Brian Thomas Jr., I like that pick better at 17 than the cornerback from Toledo. All right, number 18, Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle from Oregon State. The Bengals are one of the teams that will be helped by a deep offensive tackle class, as there could be as many as 8 going in round 1. That's crazy. Offensive line, that's where you make these picks early. There's a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft, and you got to protect Joe Burrow, man. He's always getting hurt. Their offensive line has been suspect since he's got there. He even went to a Super Bowl with a terrible offensive line. Bring him as much help. Best offensive tackle available. You got to go with that. Fuaga is that guy from Oregon State. Cooper DeJean, cornerback from Iowa, 4th-round pick. Kobe Durant was a revelation as a rookie in 2022, but he was inconsistent last season, and Darian Kendrick, taken in round 6 in the same draft, didn't take a step forward. So while the Rams got resurgent seasons from Witherspoon, the veteran is a free agent, so we'll see if they bring him back. That's why I was saying a lot of this depends on how that first week of free agency goes. So if they bring back Witherspoon, they're definitely not picking a corner here. I like a wide receiver. I mean, not wide receiver. I like one of the offensive tackles here to protect Matt Stafford too. And then number 20, Wiggins, cornerback. Ah, man, this is another team I could see potentially moving up in the draft for a quarterback. Kenny Pickett's not the guy. They need quarterback help. They need a lot of help. This team offensively is inept. So Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU, if he's still available, bring him in. He's a good wide receiver, man. He's really good. Miami Dolphins, are they going to protect Tua? Graham Barton, the center out of Duke. I noted in my debut mock that the Dolphins have decisions to make with free agent offensive lineman Connor Williams and Robert Hunt. So if they bring those guys back, this could be another pivot point. A lot of his picks in this 2.0 Mel Kiper draft are very free agent dependent, right? Now, number 22, the Philadelphia Eagles are picking outside linebacker. God, please be good, Latu. Please be good. The Eagles need so much help on the defensive side of the ball. At linebacker especially, and at cornerback. Bradbury and Slay are both getting old. The safety position is also Bush League for the Eagles. If I'm the Birds, you got to pick the best defensive player available that's not on the D-line. You've invested enough picks on the defensive line. Howie Roseman, please, for the love of God, take a linebacker, take a safety. You see what Kyle Hamilton did for the Ravens, man. Roseman needs to pay a little more respect to these linebackers and these safeties because they can change your defense. All right, number 23, another offensive tackle, Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle from Oklahoma. I don't think he lasts this long to Houston, But protecting CJ Stroud is priority number one. So they're probably going to go interior or outside. I don't know if all these tackles are going to be available this late in the draft. Tyler Guyton says, as he wrote in his big board, ranking 6'7", 327-pound Guyton is physically what NFL teams want in future Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. He could be that guy for the Texans. Dallas Cowboys, another offensive tackle, Mims out of Georgia. To make room for Mims, the Cowboys could part ways with longtime left tackle Tyron Smith. That would be pretty crazy. Who is a free agent. He's getting older. He's been banged up and hurt the last few seasons. So the Cowboys going off with that offensive line 100%. Packers, the same thing. Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle, Arizona. Here's all these offensive tackles are coming off the board. I think some of these other teams earlier in the draft could see value here and make these guys pick some defensive players or something. Then we have Keon Coleman, wide receiver from Florida State. We'll see. Mike Evans is a free agent for Tampa Bay, so going with a wide receiver makes a ton of sense here. I like Brian Thomas Jr. more than I like Coleman in the tape, but we'll see what happens. Darius Robinson, D lineman for Arizona. Arizona is getting another first-round pick, so if they go wide receiver, do they go defense? I mean, the Cardinals are one of those football teams that need help everywhere. So this is going to be a best player available selection. Whoever on their big board is available, that's who they're going to take. And I love the Bills too. I love watching the Bills. Brian Thomas Jr., if he could come in, awesome. Gabe Davis is likely going to go somewhere else. So this makes a ton of sense. And Stephon Diggs is never happy. He's always bitching and complaining. So wide receiver makes a lot of sense here for the Bills. Lions. TJ, Tampa, cornerback from Iowa State. The Lions secondary is absolute trash. We saw that throughout all the playoffs. Their safeties and corners, they need to completely revamp those positions if they want to compete for a title. I think the Lions are a top 5 team in the NFL, and if they can figure out the secondary, they're a top 2, top 3 team, and we could potentially see them in the Super Bowl next year. And number 30, cornerback, Lassiter out of Georgia from the Ravens. If this guy falls to the Ravens are going to be happy with that pick for sure. And then Chop Robinson, outside linebacker from Penn State. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. did not go in this mock draft, so we'll see. It's going to be Robinson or a guy like Trotter. Kansas City Chiefs are taking Xavier Worthy, wide receiver out of Texas. I don't see a reason to change the position here. The Chiefs had major issues at wide receiver, which is very true. 38 drops. I mean, they got hot in the playoffs, but during the regular season, they were not very consistent. There it is, guys. Mel Kiper's 2.0 mock draft and my thoughts. I think a lot's going to change the week of March 11th once free agency starts and we see where some of these chips fall. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like these top 5, top 10 picks? Who are your favorite players in this draft? My favorite player, Brock Bowers out of Georgia. The dude is an absolute savage. He's going to change someone's organization. We'll see who gets him. I hope he ends up in Philly because that would be tight. Like and subscribe. Peace.